Don't bullshit yourself.
All right, we're ready.
It's no fun. There's a great line in. Let me just start off this. I'll start off. You might as well take it. There's a great line in Look Back in Anger. Look Back in Anger was a great play in the 50s in England about the angry young British. And the line is, "It's no fun living in the American age, unless you're an American, of course. Perhaps all our children will be Americans." That's really the truth. I mean, no matter how hard these Italian filmmakers, he said there's no, just the other night, Deodato said there's no more film industry in Italy. I mean, people are just buying the same thing that Americans sell, just marketed all over the world. They make independent films everywhere now, and they make them here. And Robert Redford probably did more for that than any foreigner.
So how did you get your start in the film business?
How did I get my start in the film business? First film I ever did was in college. I did a NYU film that never got completed because it ran into artistic problems. The director and the budget ran out, and I think just never got completed. I never saw it. I think it was terrible. I think film schools are terrible. I think they teach film in film school like film was not part of theater or part of drama, and they teach drama in really acting schools like as if film isn't part of drama either. And drama is drama, and it's either on stage or it's on film. Unless you're making a video, music video, which is expressionism, you're making drama, you're making stories of people. Or documentaries, which is the only other good form of the use of film. Documentaries is a great form. But Deodato was making nothing. That's my opinion. Deodato wanted to be a great filmmaker. I think what he did was made himself a great schlock filmmaker. I mean, it's not schlock, but he talks about National Geographic, and then I think watching that film, the last thing that comes to anybody's mind is National Geographic, even with the naked breasts. I mean, it's just the last thing that comes to mind. And I think he has a great deal of talent. I haven't seen him since I made the film. I made a film before that for him, and I made a film before that for another filmmaker in New York who I was introduced to. They needed some actors to play a part in an Italian film that was shot in some scenes in America, and I was supposed to play, that was in a heavy period. I go heavy periods and light periods. I was heavy then, so I played an agent, a gay agent who came, tried to hook this young Italian actor who was probably really gay. I had to. I did very well in that. I did so. Nito Massini was the man who recommended me to Deodato in Concord Affair. He hired me. He called me that morning or that night and said, "Can you be here at 8 o'clock? And do you know any friends?" And I had two other friends. And we went there, a guy named Michael Dettori, me, and I forget the third fellow. And we went there, and Massini gave me the best part, the part that did all the talking. I was the air traffic controller that probably had about 10 minutes in the film. And but it was all divided throughout the film, talking to Ben, one of those famous Hollywood actors. Who was it that was?
Ben Gazzara?
No, not Ben Gazzara. I said good Hollywood actors. The guy who was, what's his name? Orson Welles' right-hand man.
Joseph Cotton?
Joseph Cotton was in it. He and Van Johnson, who was meeting. I shouldn't talk bad about actors. But it was an honor to be in the film with. I found out later I was in the film with what's his name? Joseph Cotton. Only when I saw the movie, because I was only in a film with myself talking to a script, pasted to the wall. And yes, you have clearance for landing, right? No, writer, all that kind of stuff, all that. Then Deodato called me out of, or Nino Massini called me on behalf of Deodato that June, woke me up at 11 o'clock in the morning, I was still asleep, and said, "I got a part for you in Colombia. You want to do it?" And I said, I thought somebody was playing a practical joke, and he said, "No, I'll meet you in New York." And it was Deodato who wanted me from doing that film for him. The first thing he said to me when he saw me is, "You got fatter." He doesn't have bumper words. Deodato doesn't have plumbing. Deodato doesn't have smooth words, buffering words. He says right, like what's on his mind, he says. Doesn't seem to have, I think that's what all the fights were about. He just says what he thinks. I don't think there's a malicious intent necessarily. It's just he never learned not to do that.
Did that make it difficult for you? Or did you appreciate the honesty?
I hated the honesty. I thought the honesty was an indulgence. I thought it's an indulgence that one can afford if one wants to be the boss, but if one wants to get work done at an excellent level, the person who's the boss has to really have control by controlling himself first. That's a good saying. You should remember that. That is good. One has to control oneself first. The director has to control. I mean, when I was on the set with Umberto Lenzi down in Sri Lanka, some of the people who worked on that film were some of the same people who worked on Bridge on the River Kwai. They were that old. They worked with David Lean. And they remember David Lean never raising his voice, not once. Everything was please this and please that. And Sir Alec, can you come over here, or to the water boy, can you please bring some water over, please? Everything was, they were so shocked.
So that's not the Italian style?
No, the Italian style is hysterical. The Italian style is slightly hysterical. And the director has it. I mean, there are stories of American directors, but you always hear about the great American directors, not Hitchcock accepted, and Hitchcock makes horror stories of certain actors talk about him like they hate him. They would never work with him. Paul Newman said he would never work with him again, no matter what. A lot of people said they wouldn't. He was a nasty man, supposedly. The great directors that I've ever worked with seduce actors. When you direct, you seduce actors into giving you just they get exactly what they want by seducing you. Actors need to act childlike when they're acting. When I've been a director, I know that I have to deal with childlike behavior from actors, and the more I accept it and the more I control it, I really have the control. Once I let an actor behave childlike, I feel I've got that actor under my control. He'll do anything for me now. I've let him be a bad boy and I didn't scold him or make him feel bad about himself.
But Deodato's?
That's not Deodato's. Deodato must criticize. He says, there was a thin Kerman, now we have a fat Kerman. I got the script, and I remember reading it, and it's hard to read how awful something can be. I mean, how awful. Well, I don't mean the film being awful. I mean how awful a scene can be. One could describe, well, there's a cannibal scene where they're eating people. Now you can make that from, almost conservative to absolute gore, Shocking is how it's like, what's the difference between Cannibal Holocaust and Schindler's List? Or let me ask you a better question. What's the difference between the first scene of Saving Private Ryan, which is probably the goriest footage I've ever seen of anything? It made Cannibal Holocaust look like, lunch on the set. It was the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan was you could vomit your brains out. Heads were blowing up. It was, but you had the feeling it wasn't exploitation. It was meant to be a depiction of really how horrible something is. And this film didn't have, Ruggiero here says that he had some political reasons for making this film. The Red Guard, the Red Guard were significant political factor in Italy, and here he thought that the press was going to make up something, and I don't know what he's talking about. I truly don't. And then all I see is a clever story, which I think the Blair Witch Project stole and did it better because they made more money on it. They didn't invest it with such gore. They invested it with more horror. And that's why they were more successful with the same thing. I think what Italian filmmakers back then were doing was they couldn't compete with American sensationalism, so they had to out-sensationalize American films. Or they thought they did. So everything seemed like it was old hat to me. Nothing seemed... my being on that set, and that was the first time I was ever on a set with such graphic nudity, or, wouldn't say nudity, violence, or just chop them up for the sake of the grinder. I didn't find it an artistic. I found my own acting. I found Deodato set up scenes nicely so that I as an actor could find my own little bits to throw in. I would always have, as an actor, I would always take one scene, and it takes a long hours and hours to make a scene on a film, that you can think of some clever little, thing, some piece, like Stanislavski said bit. He didn't say beat, he said bit. So that you have all those hours to think about a couple of minutes of shooting, you could always come up with a little bit, like a look or something. He even let me say lines. Like, I remember the line very carefully after we found the skeleton, and he says, "This is the last poor Yurok." This is a great scout just like me. And meanwhile, bugs are crawling out of his eyes, and I've just thrown out, and I look at him and I go, "Oh, that makes me feel really great," which is funny. I think funny is good in that kind of, when you're sort of like hanging on, you think by what's his name did it very well against Spielberg and Raiders of the Lost Ark. His lead character was funny. Harrison Ford was funny when he couldn't be, even in the depths of seriousness, a funny remark. This was an experience. Working with Ruggiero here was an experience. I worked with him so nicely in the movie done in MacArthur Airport. We never fought once. He was just so happy that I could remember lines, and it was just me and him, and we were just going through the lines, and he would tell me how he wants them, and I would do them, and he'd go, "Oh, God, fantastic actor, fantastic." His way of saying fantastic. Well, you can remember all these lines. Italian actors can't remember it. they can't remember to come back from the bathroom. He said things like, so I was getting praise and I loved it and I did more and I thought he was a wonderful guy. I still think he's I don't know what he's like. I still don't know what you're like. I really don't. I don't have a. We fought every day, and yet we had dinner every night, and he was generous. If I had an idea, he wouldn't not listen to it, or he'd accept it. We after all these years to be here again, looking at this, and just looking at this.
You said you fought every day. What were the fights about?
About, I guess I would just take umbrage, is that the word? He would say something sort of nasty, sort of, I don't know whether he was in a bad mood, he just felt like passing it along. And like I said before, I think I'm not good at that over a long period. I don't like being dumped on. I try not to dump on others. If I say something to somebody that's not polite, like I lose my temper at somebody, and if somebody's down the line on the pecking order, like it's the PA on the set, and you're the actor, you can say anything you want to this poor son of a bitch, and he has to swallow it, and that's a terrible thing. So even if I did something like that, I would most likely feel guilty down the line and go apologize to him. And I remember doing that a few times in front of people. I would always, if I did it in front of people, I apologized in front of people. Not because I'm such a good guy, and I'm just a very guilty guy. I don't like to dump. No, I didn't apologize to Ruggiero. He did. I mean, he was asking for it. He didn't seem to mind. He seemed to enjoy the fight. Maybe it woke him up. Maybe it woke everybody up. Everybody kind of liked the sparring that went on, and then it was over. And it was really, when it was over, it was over. It didn't seem to flare up for another day. But I literally remember people sitting down. They go, oh, it's Ruggiero and Deodato time. 5 minutes, time out. People would sit. We'd scream. I forget. Somebody should have shot the fights. They were good. They were good fights. They were like, what the fuck are you telling everybody to do this, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, I said, you're the one who fucked up. You forgot to tell everybody. Now you're angry at everybody for not knowing it. So what are you dumping on? And, you're a fantastic actor. If you were so good, you would know what to do, what I don't tell you, It was, what can I say?
How did you treat the locals, the sort of Indian guys? Were they actually, were those guys actually natives, or were they just sort of guys who lived in Leticia?
You had the feeling that they were wearing jeans, and they weren't wearing shoes necessarily, or sneakers, or some form of sneaker, but they were you had the definite feeling if they weren't natives anymore, they weren't the real bush people. They were like descendants of these people. You had the feel, and I think I was told it, and but they were gentrified, as they say. I mean, Leticia was not a rugged city, contrary to the part of the movie that was shot where the kids were leaving for like the jungle was Leticia. All those little stores, and that was the city of Leticia. I think it had 20,000 people. It just so happened that it was in the middle of the jungle, so you were in an outpost of civilization that was, I remember, to make a phone call out of there, you had to go to the local phone place that had a gigantic antenna. It was a satellite dish back then, and that was the only way to get a phone call out by satellite. Today you would just open up your little briefcase. And But those local guys who had those planes that you saw us fly in, they were two local Americans. I think they're probably drug dealers, but I just think they were because they had like a whole operation down there. I don't know what they were, but they had planes and they had a walkie-talkie set up. What is it called? High frequency, whatever. It's shortwave. They had shortwave walkie-talkie, so you had to go over and out when you wanted to speak. And I got patched into. They let me make a phone call there, being American. Let me make a phone call on their patch to Miami. Yeah, ironic, they were patched into Miami, but they patched it into a phone, and I called Kate in New York. Kate was a lady in the film who played the high-priced looking executive. She was my girlfriend at the time, and she got into the film because they needed an actor to be on the outside in New York and inside in Rome. So they had to use an actor. So for the price of her hotels and her airfare, she got a trip to Rome and back and hotels and everything, and to be in the movie. So she was cast. We did lunch over her. The food was terrific in Leticia. The beef, terrible. Here I am talking. You'd see this beef going to market every day. This bull, one bull would be going to market every day. You knew that was the end of his life. This poor schwach bull. I mean, it looked like he didn't have an extra ounce on his body. He definitely wasn't fat. And I ate meat every night. I ate a steak every night because that was the safest thing. They told me, it gets broiled, and it was delicious. It was the best beef. I mean, because it was fresh, it was, eating. But like one day the bull got loose. And in the daytime, and everybody's, we're coming back from shooting, and the bull gets loose, and everybody runs. And I ran into a person's house. I mean, what they have as a house is a I told you, up on stilts, and it was one room, and open, like 4 openings or 2 openings, and that's it. It's like a wood floor. That's it. No furniture, nothing. They're in there. And they looked at me. I looked at them, and I said, "Scroozy." I said, "Sorry, They understood. There's a bull running around, but not Deodato. He was out there with a coat. He was fighting with the bull. Boy, was I hoping they fucking got creamed. I was. You don't know how much I was hoping that this bull took him out. I mean, like splattered him all over. That's a terrible thing to think, isn't it? I was like, what a poor putz. This poor bull is on his way to his death. He's got to fucking fuck with him too. I mean, it's like he has no. I don't think he has a soul. I don't think he has a soul. This sounds. I don't usually like my own work. I liked my little shtick. The stuff with the stuff. He said it. The stuff with that. He said it was cut, and it was cut. You don't have the right cut. The stuff where I eat that stuff.
You eat the white stuff.
Yeah, it's really. I stole a scene. I actually took a scene from Lawrence of Arabia. I remember Peter O'Toole having to eat. He was eating his own food in the desert, and he was with his guide. I don't know if you want to hear this. He was with his guide, and you always love to pay homage to another great, to another great, to another great actor. And I think he was great in that scene. He gives the gun to the guy, and the guy says, "Here, Bedu food." I don't know. He offers him his food, which looks like something like a fried grasshopper or something. It looks awful, and he makes that expression. O'Toole. He goes like, and he has to eat it, and he eats it, and he goes, "Good," and the guy goes, "More," and that was that kind of stuff. That was it was actually tasted fine. I forget what it was. I think it was pancake mix. I think that's all it was.
And a lot of the other business, the
pipe, all that kind of stuff?
That was my own. I smoked a pipe back then. I smoked a corncob pipe. I thought a corncob pipe was a good touch. I had a few of them. I just did it. He liked it, so he kept it. The crazy hat, I still have that hat. It seems strange to me. I don't know. Somebody gave me a gift when they left. They gave me a hammock. It became this big, and you just opened it and put it on. And that became my best friend. I used to get to location and like find 2 trees and put up a hammock. And I'd just wait there until they were ready for me, and I could wait for hours. And then it was hurry up and wait. That was my camper.
Now, was there a point when you were down there? I mean, obviously you read the script and sort of had an idea what the movie was about, but at that point you weren't sure how graphic and nasty it was going to be. Do you remember a point where you sort of realized that this movie was going to sort of go beyond what you were expecting?
No, I didn't. I thought it was going to be just a gore movie because I wasn't there for any of the animal stuff except that one little horrifying little animal. So cute. It was so cute. I said, why don't you let the little fucker live? Today I would have done something different. Do you know that if I was on the set there and I saw that kid had it, I would have picked up something and knocked it out of his hand. I would have fucking taken him out. You think I'm joking?
No, I've got that one.
You don't know that I'm a... No, I definitely would have taken that animal. I would have risked... They wouldn't have been expecting it.
But at the point that happened in the shoot, did it make it difficult for you to sort of go on as if...
No, I didn't see it. Remember,
But the little... I guess you walked off the set, but...
I didn't hear a thing. I didn't see a thing.
Oh.
I just know that they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I walked off the set when I told them not to do it.
Yeah.
And they were still thinking.
Yeah. And they just went ahead and did
Well,
it.
I think they took some time, then they decided to do it. I think there was some contesting by a few people that wasn't necessary, and it wasn't. I don't think it did the film any good, do you?
No.
I mean, I don't think it probably cost all of us. I realized my career went nowhere in Italy, and I was promised, like, I got a film right after just doing that film. Just doing that film, I auditioned for Lenzi. I auditioned for him. And he just requested that I lose 10 pounds if I could. I did. And I lost a lot of weight during his shoot. In fact, I was the thinnest during his shoot. I liked his shoot better, truthfully. It was more, well, first of all, I had a pretty actress to work with, you know. And I was just the love interest, so it was great, you know. That's always better than being the professor coming down to find dead bodies.
Did any of your friends see the movie when it came out?
No, not that I remember. It didn't come out here for a long time.
Yeah, they actually had problems. I think what happened was they submitted it to the MPAA and they got an X. And that pretty much killed whatever chance they had of a release.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, they couldn't get it played anywhere after that.
They did themselves their own... I don't understand what the hell they did. I don't really understand it. I think you should cut that one little animal out. I really think you should. Yeah. I think you're going to run into more trouble from that little animal. I don't think anybody's going to like that.
No. But where do you start? Then there's the turtle.
A turtle is easier. Turtle doesn't cry. Turtle they ate. They really did eat him. Do me a favor. Really, think about cutting out that scene.
You know, I would.
But listen to me. You're going to run into trouble.
Here.
You're going to run into trouble on a release.
For me, it's to cut something like that out of censorship, regardless.
Oh,
It's censorship.
Oh, who said censorship is bad? The New York Times does it every day.
Well, yeah, but the New York Times isn't releasing a movie. I mean,
Yes, but to censor a bad part of a movie is not a. It depends on what you censor something for. Do you censor it because you personally oppose it? This is a good argument. I'd like you to really keep this in. Do you censor something out of a movie because you think the movie is okay, and it has a historical and a following, but there's a part in it that's terrible, that's gruesome, that's real, and shouldn't have been shot? Now, do you show that? Because it's otherwise it's censorship. Censorship is not a taboo. Censorship, we all censor every day. We do censorship every day in our lives. We give things ratings. We give things what we won't do. If it's your choice, and it is your choice, it's not censorship. Theater should stay theater. Chop somebody's head off. Do it theatrically. It can be done. A guy on Umberto Lenzi's film was so gory they had the girl's breasts off then. But this guy was like a little old sweet man, and he was like going around with like these. He would show me how he's doing. He was sitting there on the lawn, and he was showing me how he was making this fake breast to blow up or whatever. Did some awful thing, and he was like, and I thought, gee, that's an art form. That's theater. That's permissible. I don't know why it's a classic. I can't fucking figure out why it's a classic. I really can't. For the life of me, I can't figure out why it's a classic. It's a classic because of why? Because it's mean. It's mean-spirited. That's a terrible reason for it to be a classic. I think people have done better. Cannibal. I don't know what it was. I didn't. I think I don't know why. I don't know why it's a classic. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's shot that great. I don't think it's. Maybe it's the Blair Witch thing. People are, maybe they really believed it was real. I can't believe that they really believed it was real. I just can't. Because I can't believe the third person watching everybody being eaten is going to be filming it. A journalist to the end. I mean, it would have broken my sense of reality back in Vision.
Well, people believe Blair Witch was real.
I didn't even see it.
Yeah. It's not as good as Cannibal Holocaust.
I wouldn't even see it because I knew I wouldn't. I wouldn't see it because I wouldn't be horrified. I wouldn't be. What horrified me in Cannibal Holocaust and what really sticks in my mind is that little animal. The scream on that animal was such a pitch. It was like that it pierced heaven. That I think when I cursed that film, I really had the power of. I really think I had a divine power at that moment. That I really did curse that film. Deodato, I cursed myself because I ended up not working. I ended up being a part of that. Deodato said he didn't work for 3 years. And I'm sure he had a lot of legal hassle. He almost went to jail. He said he got 4 years suspended sentence, basically. What do you think? I mean, why do you think people like this? It's a savage film. It's a savage, dirty little film. Worse than any pornography that I've been involved in. Much, much worse,
Well, I mean, were you surprised the other day when so many people were, asking for your autograph?
Absolutely.
Did you expect that when you went to the show?
No.
That you would get...
I've never had anybody come up to me about this film and like, whoa. I've had people stop me in Dodger Stadium for my porn. I mean, people have stopped me at the Academy Awards. I was at the Academy Awards twice, and I got stopped. My career, ever since when I was doing that film, my career was going up. And it never went up. That film really, I didn't think of it a lot. My career didn't go as well as I had hoped. I had a lot of chances and I didn't take them. Things didn't pan out. I had crazy agents who got rid of me and I was getting all the parts in LA. I don't know. Maybe it's that film. Will you actually show this? That I feel this way?
Absolutely.
Okay, at least that says something. I get the muskrat gets an advocate. Great story for my next film. Madman gets loose, animal lover, gets loose from insane asylum and kills Italian director Ruggero Deodato. Don't like that?